Hello, this Hangout on Air is live. Sorry, starting 30 minutes late. Well, had some delays, and then I was uploading a video waiting for it to finish, and then I realized I got the automatic message. It was a duplicate. I was accidentally uploading the Bud Light Lime video that I had instead of the Bud Light Orange. So I have to start all over with this upload, and here we are, the Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. It's going to be cloudy, but you'll see daylight breaking in here as we go. I'm drinking the rest of this RT coffee. We have Cutty Sark blended Scotch whiskey, introduced in 1923. It has been, like most of the whiskeys, downgraded. It was 86 proof, and now it's 80. I think they used to have an age statement. Now they do not. Going up against King Robert II. Never could find out when it was introduced. I just know it goes back to at least 1968 when the King Robert line of liquor, because they make gin, rum, etc., was acquired by the Ian Macleod distillers. That was 50 years ago. So this might be as old as the Cutty Sark, but it's probably something from the 1930s. There is a 12-year aged King Robert II Scotch whiskey, and there's an extra 100. There's a 100 proof black bottle. Black labels called Cutty Sark Prohibition. So it's more expensive. I've never seen it around here. And there's even other ones that aren't even listed on the website. It could be $200 a bottle. John and Newley and I were looking at one in Georgia that was over $200 for one bottle. Super Deluxe Cutty Sark. That's really good coffee. I used to buy it. It was so cheap years ago. RT from Riley Foods in New Orleans. But it's very expensive now. It's the darkest of the dark. It's super dark coffee and chicory, and there's big chunks of chicory in it. And I went to like Starbucks when I was in Seattle, Washington 11 years ago. It was not Starbucks, but it was one of those places like that, like an independent specialty coffee shop with all the wonderful gourmet coffees. And I said, oh, give me coffee and chicory. Oh, they never heard of that. I said, what? Okay. Fernand Gauthier says, drinking a Gentleman Jack and 7-Up. Oh, yeah. I tasted that at the distillery. What is the most aged alcohol, he meant to write, alcohol you ever drank? Oh, well, 18 years. My friend David had the 18-year age Scotch. And he was saying, oh, it's really intense. You better watch it. You may not be able to take it. And I was like, what are you talking about? That's what I like in the whiskeys. The intensity doesn't. It'd be like telling me this food's really hot. It's really spicy. Okay. I'm looking to buy a 41 years old Canadian Club. Wow. Yowza. All right. Well, on with the taste challenge. And we might be bringing back Louisiana Beer Reviews examinations on Wednesday or Friday nights if some things don't get corrected on another channel, because we're not too thrilled with how those are developing. But we're going to see, and we're going to talk. Got to enter into negotiation. We have to enter into negotiations to see if we can rectify the situation. But there were viewers complaining, and we want things to be structured. These taste challenges are structured to an extent, but they're early in the morning. They're not going to appeal to too many people anyway. But a prime time evening examination, you want it to be good and not chase people away. You want people to want to watch it and participate in it, I might add. All right, so Cutty Sark and King Robert II. Okay, let's look at a few things. Cutty Sark, they'll tell you right there on the website, it's designed as a mixer. Tells you right there on the website. This is not sit down and sip and evaluate and contemplate whiskey. So basically they're saying to the customer, don't call us and talk about how dull it is, because we're telling you that's what it's designed to be. Okay, I mean, if you want something fancy, get something fancy. All right. It's kind of like the Seagram's VO Gold. They're telling you on the website, this is designed to be a mixer. It has some good flavors on its own, but it's really not designed for that. It's like some people that'll drink Bud Light and say, well, I've had Imperial Stouts that were way more flavorful than Bud Light. I'm pretty sure you have. So let's not worry about stating the obvious. Let's just regard things as they are. King Robert II is a very inexpensive, or what you could call a value. I always have a tendency to pour too much out of this jug bottle. It's funny, this jug bottle, it just flows out. The way it's designed, there's no back glug, you know, glug, glug, glug. You pour it, it's coming out. Whew. All right. Interesting design. Whoa. Remember the old Miller Lite cans that say would flow better, the wide mouth? This is sort of like that. It just comes out. So it catches you off guard. The Cutty Sark just glug, 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 you know, over pour it. This one. Whoa. Whoa, I better pour some back. It's a clean glass, so I think that'll be okay. It's an inexpensive line of liquor, but it is at least bottled in Scotland. It's not one of those that are shipped to America and then bottled. Not to say that makes them bad. That's just a cost-cutting method, and they can sell it cheaper. This one's a little nicer, and it's not a big plastic bottle. It's glass, so it presents better. You know, it looks nicer. If you went to a party and you brought this, people might like it. But a big plastic bottle, maybe you should take that to like a Mardi Gras parade party, because that's a lot of like what people are doing, and they're having like the chips and dip, you know, and that guacamole, and what do they call it when they make like a casserole dish and they put all the chips and the sour cream and black olives in it and the green, whatever, and the people eat, and the bean dip, yeah, like a fancy bean dip, and potato chips and all, and so that'll be fine because it's a Mardi Gras party, okay? But if but bring the glass, don't bring the plastic generally, but setting always matters, you see. It's still a lot. Oh, it really it's not that much because these glasses are kind of small. Will I be able to tell them apart? I believe so. You can see the Cutty Sark is much lighter. I mean, maybe you can see it. I can see it because the screen is shining at me. This is a yellow, pale straw yellow, and this is a deep brown. No age statement, no age statement. Do they have caramel color added to make it darker? That is a strong possibility, but it's not a guarantee. It's done with Scotch. They do not have to disclose that by law. Under U.S. law, it's illegal for them to add color in. It'll say on the chart, the Spirits Handbook. But interestingly, the law is non-applicable, because if you read the guidelines, it's saying it's illegal for them to have added coloring for Canadian whiskey too, or flavoring. But Canadian whiskey is imported under the laws and regulations of Canada, and Scotch whiskey is imported under the laws and regulations of Scotland. So in other words, the U.S. law is meaningless. It's a paper law. They follow the law of Scotland. So that takes precedence. You got me? But it's just funny how those little things work. But if Scotch was made in America, it could not have coloring. But then if it was made in America, it wouldn't be Scotch. Because legally, if you look at the US government regulations, Scotch must be made in Scotland. Although I do not think that regulation applies to champagne. In Europe, it does. Europe does not control the United States anymore. And so people will make champagne in Texas. And the French say, no, no. Champagne must be from France. In the French Champagne region. But this is not France. Used to be. Parts of this country used to be. Okay. Fernand says Scotch smell weird. It's a little different, but it's got the peat. Once you get used to it, then it's. I was reading a very good article about cognac brandy in the Advocate newspaper, New Orleans Advocate newspaper. I don't care for the paper. It's pretty ragged. But newspapers have declined awfully anyway. So, but it was an article with no typographical errors this time, and it was all about how there's a shop in New Orleans that sells expensive brandy, cognac brandy. Oh, of course, other French brandy, but it was the history of cognac and everything. And it was very interesting. On with the show. But they were saying that only 3 to 5% of the cognac is actually consumed in France. And there was somebody who used to do beer reviews. She's always claiming she's going to do them. It doesn't ever happen. But she lived in France for a number of years, and she said, she talked to me and told me, cognac is not popular in France. No one drinks brandy except some old men. They drink Scotch. They said the biggest whiskey in France is Scotch. You say Scotch? Yeah. Well, there's an old connection between France and Scotland. France and Scotland used to be allies against England in the old days. True story. Because Scotland was a Catholic country at one time, and they were Catholic. France was Catholic, and they were in this big rivalry with England, which had recently become Protestant Anglican under Henry VIII. So it was very interesting. And Scotland and France always had a close tie, and just like Ireland and Spain had a close tie, especially because of the Catholic angle and the anti-English angle. And so why you had a lot of Scottish officers in the Spanish army with names like Bernardo O'Higgins. Okay. I like Scotch like Suntory, Tokai, and Johnny Walker. Yeah, 2 good choices, I would say. All right, here we go. I think I'll be able to easily tell them apart. I think the Cutty Sark will be much lighter and milder, but probably a little better. So here we go. I got to close my eyes because if I glance, I'll know off immediately because of the color difference. Smells sweet, a little sugary, and that would be coming from the corn, the grain whiskey. And I would guess, and I probably would be correct, I would guess that both of these are about 80% column still grain whiskey, made from maize. You see, in Scotland, they say, oh, it's made from maize. We would say corn. Indian corn, they would call it. Because in Europe, corn is wheat. Okay. And what else? I'm looking for peat, more, the peat, the soil peat. It's there in the undertaste. What about smoke? Didn't mention that I didn't pick it up. Okay. Much richer peat note. I mean, it's just gamey in the nose from that. You see, you mean it smells like a compost pile in somebody's backyard? Somewhat like that. Organic matter. And the column still whiskey, but that's a background note. And the the rich, like I said, gamey. Like you said, the odd aroma, the funny aroma. Some people, they smell scotch and they run. They say, oh no, ugh, I'm not drinking that. They say, no way, Jose. I mean, no way, Ian. It just doesn't appeal to them. It just turns their stomach. You know, it just smells gross. Other people, they like it. Like me, I like it. That doesn't make you better or them worse or them better or you worse. It's personal preference. I notice a lot of time in beer reviews and whiskey reviews, they base a person's worth on what they like, which to me is madness. Those Bud Light people, you know, because they're lesser people because they like a product that we may find bland and unappealing and dull. And I always thought to myself, it's so strange that people would think that way. Now, if their backyard is full of trash and they keep their yard untidy and they're sloppy, raggedy people and they're menacing and bad, well, then you're judging them by things they do that's downgrading our culture, our society. But to worry about people's drink choices is just uncalled for, I think. Now, are there things people can drink that are unhealthy and probably bad for them, and maybe you wouldn't do any good, I'm sure, but you could advise them maybe you shouldn't drink those flavored drinks all day like Hawaiian Punch and give that to your kids all the time. And well, yeah. Are there socioeconomic relationship to quality of products that people drink? You know the answer to that already before I even ask the rhetorical question. Okay, so initially on aroma, I think this is Cutty Sark, and where did I put the glass? I don't want to knock it over. Okay, and I think that's the King Robert, but I really don't know. Let me go with the taste. Very interesting. There's a smoke quality right off the first millisecond sip. That fades. Still around. It lingers in the back of the mouth. It's almost like you inhaled smoke, and then it's in your mouth. Smoke damage. But then the grain alcohol starts to come into play and settles in. But it's pleasant. It's fine. Yeah. Okay, let's go over here. To my right, it might be your left, but in my right hand, this is a much starker product. It's much more ragged and, as David Garlipeed would say, bitey. It's a little rough. It tastes like grain whiskey. Is there peat? Yes. Is there a lot of it? No. Is it just peat? Is it just some single malt whiskey added in to give this thing some sort of character and to rescue it from a nothingness? Yes, I do believe. You say, well, King Robert II won a gold medal at the World Spirits Competition in 2007. It did, in the blended whiskey category, the blended Scotch whiskey category. So what it was going up against was things like this, like what it is. But they were bragging it beat out Johnny Walker, and I find that hard to believe. But it's the truth. It just seems shocking that it could beat Johnny Walker Red Label. Because, you know, it's just that category. Cut rate, or I don't want to, that's a bad term to use. Let's say standard. Entry level, okay, that sounds better. Entry level, standard edition product. Like I bought the truck earlier this month. I could have bought what people call a stripped down model, but really that would be the standard edition. the base model, if you want to say that, with no options added. Could have gotten it. Wouldn't have saved any money. In fact, the one I bought with the 2 add-ons, the Chrome package and the Power Equipment Group, which added quite a bit of money to the sticker price. But the actual price, the selling price, was the same. And you'll find that with many of these blended whiskeys. There'll be variations with the quality and the flavor, but the price won't really be much different. And then you look at sales, and it might be cheaper. So that's why you do the taste challenge, to figure out what you like, pinpoint it, and then you can just keep buying it. Because I think most people, they just lock onto a brand, and they just buy it forever. They don't vary. They don't deviate. And King Robert might be one for you. But I would probably gravitate more toward Cutty Sark. It's a little finer product. It's a little bit more expensive, but perhaps not, because I've seen the big 1.75 milliliter, 75 liter Cutty Sark glass, and those big ones come in glass too with the handle, you know, nice glass. And $18.99, no, but not much more than that. That's this one's pleasant all the way across the board. It isn't exquisite. It's not luxurious. It's not fabulous, but the quality is very high. And for a blended Scotch whiskey designed for making highballs, cocktails, it's almost world class, nearly perfect. It may not have any flaws. May not have any flaws. You cannot say that grain whiskey is a flaw. No, that's the design. It would be like buying a Corvette and said the only flaw is that it has only 2 seats. Okay. I think this one has a number of flaws. Is it terrible? No, it isn't terrible. But it's very, it's rough. It's jagged and ragged, and you say, well, I'm a rough kind of guy. I'm a rough guy. You might like it. And you should drink it if you want. I wouldn't. But I got a huge bottle left, but that's okay. That's no problem. All right, so I'm going to call it now. Here we go. Drum roll, please. Thank you. Now we are going to say this is King Robert II. And we're wrong. Nightmarish. Nightmarish. Well, that explodes all my preconceived notions. Well, it just goes to show you taste challenges can be quite mind-boggling and scary in a way. If you're trying to do a channel and people are actually watching, I'm afraid that's why you rarely see people do them. It's a little too risky. And a lot of beer reviews, and you know what I'm talking about, they're so well coordinated, so wonderfully produced, so you would almost think scripted and edited to the hilt. And a little too inauthentically enthusiastic, if you know what I mean. We've talked about that, me and other people. A little too showmanship. You say, well, it's a show. It's the internet. They can't get to the top without producing themselves up to the top and winning the battle, and they want to be number one. What does it take to be number one? Well, if that's your goal, that's fine with me. And even many times they'll respond to a comment. It'll be very quick, terse. Oh, thanks. Yeah, right. And I always interpret that as, hey, buzz off, you know, because it's not about the community talking about drinks, hanging out, or discussing these products, or having a good time, or just learning. And it's about promotion. It's about building the brand. So it's very risky to do the blind taste test if you're trying to build the brand, because then you're going to stumble and sort of, so to speak, make a fool out of yourself. And how do you establish credibility? Oh, I'm a taster. I'm a sommelier. I have look at the plaques in the background. I went to the certification program, which is very good, and I admire that. And they worked hard, I'm sure, and I'm not against it. Some of the beer reviews take issue with that, like they're jealous or they're angry about it. And they'll say sommelier and Cicerone, it doesn't matter, it means nothing. Well, I don't agree with that. It does mean something. But even the big time experts can make screw ups, you see. So it's a little risky to do the taste challenges, blind taste tests. As evidenced by this morning, I was so certain this was Cutty Sark and that was King Robert. And I just made a long speech about why Cutty Sark was so much better, but it was a catastrophic failure. Catastrophic. Yet the failure was a success, because we learned that if you don't know what you're drinking, you might be fooled. And we've been through this many times over the last few years. Your perception is Cutty Sark, a known brand. It's featured in many, many movies. I just saw a movie the other day where they were grabbing Cutty Sark. Well, it's a big company. They got a lot of money. They can make sure their product is placed in the movie. Are you going to see King Robert II in the movie? I'm pretty sure you will not. So in your mind, your mental framework is such that you're saying that's the Cutty Sark. It's going to be the quality leader easily. But I closed my eyes. I mixed them up very well, and I got it dead wrong. Did I prove that I was terrible at tasting scotch and differentiating them? That is a possibility. It is a possibility. But I don't think that's the answer. I think the answer is that, surprise, surprise, the King Robert II is, in fact, a better product than this. So you got to live with it. If you're gonna do the taste challenges and they're blind, and you're gonna do them live, and you can't live with it, and I go back to check later and it's deleted, don't do it. Don't do it. They got people that do these things. They'll do live hangouts and they're talking all kind of talk, saying all kind of let's say controversial things, edgy things, inappropriate things. But they say that's how we roll. We're wild and crazy guys. We don't care. We're out there, baby. Then you check later, it's been deleted. Or it's now a private video. I said, well, you may not be as edgy as you first believed because you were worried that there would be fallout. So you hurried up and corrected the situation. I've seen this over the years. But of course, maybe there was a lot of alcohol-fueled behavior in these long hangouts where the people are tired and they say crazy things. But yet, remember, your claim was that you're edgy. Hillbilly Select Reviews. I like your new channel name. He says, good morning, my friend. Good morning to you. Have I deleted? Yeah, that just tastes rough. And that's Cutty Sark, and I'm totally shocked. I just can't get over it, really. Cannot get over it. Totally discombobulated. Shaken. Not defeated. Disturbed. Not giving up. Now, have I deleted videos in the past that I thought maybe were probably not something that should be posted? Yes. But yet I don't claim to be edgy. You see the difference? I don't ever say I'm out there and if you don't like it, tough, and I'm just a wild and crazy guy, and I will say crazy things. I've never made that claim. So all I ever said was I do honest reviews as much as I'm able to. You try not to be biased. You try not to let personal opinion play into it. It will. You can't help it. You can't help being biased to an extent. But the blind taste test can alleviate a lot of that, because if you don't know what you're tasting, then you better be careful. And you're going to be burned quite a few times. Much smoky. I just can't get over it, man. And it's not a situation where I accidentally mixed the two up and got them wrong. I mean, it's so clear. I mean, Cutty Sark is clearly light. It's lighter. I mean, you can see the straw, and this is amber. I mean, there's no mixing up. There's no mistake, no technical error. This is just flat out blatant getting it wrong. Like the way it swishes, though. I'll say one thing though. This is making me think of the Tokai, the Suntory Tokai, which is a very similar color, that light greenish gold, grain, pale straw thing. And David and I were doing the Tokai, and immediately both of us said, it tastes like rice. Rice. They're using rice. And there's no doubt the Japanese Scotch style, they're not technically Scotch, but the Japanese whiskey, which is based on the Scotch production style. In fact, the Japanese love Scotch. The Asians love Scotch. That's the most popular whiskey in Asia, Scotch style products, either actual Scotch or Scotch style. But the big difference is that the Japanese whiskeys use rice as their grain alcohol. And in America and Western Europe, they're using corn. I know they're supposed to be odorless and tasteless and just be a filler, and it's not supposed to make a difference, but let me assure you that it does. It does. The rice whiskeys do not taste the same. They don't even feel the same. There's something different in the mouth. And in Louisiana, we eat a lot of rice. So you just say, no. And I think David was saying, I don't really like that. I don't like it. But to me, it appealed to me. I said, I think I do like it. So that's something to think about, something to look at. Hillbilly said, I don't think I ever had a Cutty Sark. I have had every major budget brand of Scotch, but I did not recall having that one. I'm going to have to try it just to say. Yes, and you can find it on sale a lot of times recently. I even saw it for $12.99 a bottle somewhere. You won't normally see it for that, but I did see it somewhere for that. In my opinion, says Fernand, Tokai tastes like sour grape. Sour grape. No, I didn't notice that. Well, we got to wrap this up. Jeff Neff says, another good one, Ronald. Have a great day. You have one too, Jeff. Have a great day. So, all right, Mom. Heck, we'll do another taste challenge in 2 days and see what happens. Just see what happens. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. I'm certainly not going to worry about it. Oh, well. All right. So join us next time as we round out the King Robert, and then we'll be going in with the, I believe it's a Canadian blended whiskey up against the rest. And I think, well, you'll see. That's going to be a really interesting one. All right. Thanks for watching this video production.